Tonight is the 29th of August, and this is the third night we're speaking on the Dhammapada. We come to chapter 10, Danda Vaga, violence. Verse 129, all tremble at violence, all fear death, putting oneself in the place of another. One should not kill, nor cause another to kill. 130, all tremble at violence, life is dear to all. Putting oneself in the place of another, one should not kill, nor cause another to kill. So here basically, if we fear death and we value our life, so do all other beings. So we should not kill other beings or get another person to kill. 131. One who was himself seeking happiness oppresses with violence other beings who also desire happiness, will not attain happiness hereafter. 132. One who, while himself seeking happiness, does not oppress with violence other beings who also desire happiness, will find happiness hereafter. This karma vipaka is such that if we take the life of other beings, cause their life to be short, then our lives will naturally become short. Just as nowadays you find some children, sometimes even 1 or 2 years old, they have cancer, sometimes cancer of the bone, leukemia, for no apparent reason. And even if we don't kill other beings, we are violent towards other beings, that means harm them, physically harm them, give them pain. Then when we are reborn, it's unlikely that our body also will give us pain here, pain there, with all kinds of sickness. So this karma vipaka, action and its result follows us. Whatever we do, we get back. What we give to others, we get back in return. If not this lifetime, then in a future lifetime. 133. Do not speak harshly to anyone, for those thus spoken to might retort. Indeed, vindictive speech hurts, and retaliation may overtake you. We speak harshly to others, people don't like it, and they will retaliate, and then we'll get back hurtful words. 134. If, like a broken gong, you silence yourself, you have approached Nibbana, for vindictiveness is no more in you. This is more of a samana dhamma. There's one sutta where the Buddha told a monk that you cannot return anger with anger. For a monk, if he gets a scolding, he should not scold back. If he scolds back, that is the practice of ordinary people. But for a monk, we should not return anger with anger. So here, like a broken gong, if a monk can practice like a broken gong, does not retaliate, then it's on his way to Nibbana. It's not easy to do. Normally when we get scolded, we get angry in return. 135. Just as a cowherd drives the cattle to pasture with a staff, so do old age and death drive out the life of beings. So aging and dying is natural to all beings. 136. When the fool commits evil deeds, he does not realize the consequences. The witless man is tormented by his own deeds, like one burned by fire. Ordinary people, we do evil because we don't understand the law of karma vipaka. If we understood the law of karma vipaka, we will never do evil. It's because we never realize the consequences are so bad. A lot of people don't know that there are ghost realms and even hell realms. A lot of people hear, but they don't believe that there's such a thing as hell, as ghosts and all that. So they just follow their tendencies, which is basically greed, hatred and delusion. 137. One who uses violence against those who are unarmed and offends those who are inoffensive, will soon come upon one of these 10 states. 138. He will incur sharp pain, disaster and bodily injury, or serious illness, or derangement of mind. 139. Or he will meet with trouble from the rulers, or grave charges, loss of relatives, or loss of wealth. 140. Or his houses will be destroyed by a ravaging fire, and upon dissolution of the body, that ignorant person will be reborn in hell. Sorry for a moment. So if a person is violent towards those who are inoffensive, then all the troubles will come to him. Especially if the person that is harmed is an Arya, then even worse. So one thing about the law of karma vipaka, when we do harm against somebody, does not mean that the person will harm us in return. If we harm somebody, we will get harmed, and anybody can harm us. It's like sometimes because of killing karma, person has a car accident and his life is shortened. It's not necessary that the particular person has to retaliate, has to give him back the consequences. Any other being can do it, because having done the evil deed, he attracts that vipaka, the result of his karma will come to him in whatever form. 141. Neither going about naked, nor matted locks, nor filth, nor fasting, nor lying on the ground, nor smearing oneself with ashes and dust, nor sitting on the heels in penance, can purify a mortal who has not overcome mental wavering. Mental wavering, I guess, refers to doubt. So if a person, like an external ascetic, he doesn't understand the Dhamma, and he doesn't have samadhi, so the mind is always wavering, doubting. So he practices all these ascetic practices, like going naked, having matted locks, means long hair that are matted together, smearing filth on the body, fasting, is lying on the ground, I'm not sure why, smearing his body with ashes and dust, etc. Cannot purify his defilements. 142. Even though he be well adorned, yet if he is poised, calm, controlled, and established in the holy life, having laid aside violence towards all beings, he truly is a holy man, a renunciate, a monk. So it is not outside appearances that is important, it is a man's heart. If the monk he is calm, controlled, and is not violent towards any beings, then he is really practicing the right way of a monk. 143. Only rarely is there a man in this world who, restrained by modesty, avoids reproach, as a thoroughbred horse avoids the whip. So it's rare to find a person who is restrained and is not blamable. For him to be that, then he has this hiri ottappa. Hiri ottappa is hiri is a sense of shame, and ottappa is fear of wrongdoing. So if he has these two qualities, then he'll be restrained. 144. Like a thoroughbred horse touched by the whip, be strenuous, be filled with spiritual yearning, by faith and moral purity, by effort and meditation, by investigation of the Dhamma, by being rich in knowledge and practice, and by being mindful, destroy this unlimited suffering. The Buddha says, if we understand the Dhamma, we know that death is very near, just around the corner, very soon will touch us. Then we must behave as if our head is on fire. Quickly put out the fire, no time to waste. So in the same way, here it says, be strenuous, filled with spiritual yearning, by effort and meditation, investigation of the Dhamma, practice, then you can destroy the suffering that's remaining. This unlimited suffering refers to the round of rebirths that is still waiting for most people. And this round of rebirths is incalculable. Will never end unless we become an Arya. So, if you understand this, then you understand your head is on fire. If you don't make the effort, sooner or later you're going to fall into hell, because this samsara is so long. Sometimes you go up, sometimes you go down, and you go into hell unlimited number of times, ghost realm and all that. 145. Irrigators regulate the waters, arrow makers straighten arrow shafts, carpenters shape wood, and the good control themselves. Virtuous people, we always control our emotions, control our passions. Don't let our passions control us. So, as I mentioned before, the Buddha said, an uncontrolled mind is a source of great suffering. A well-controlled and disciplined mind is a source of great happiness. Chapter 11, Jara Vaga, old age. 146. When this world is ever ablaze, why this laughter, why this jubilation? Shrouded in darkness, why don't you seek the light? So ordinary people in the world, we like to laugh, we like to be jolly, like to enjoy life. The Buddha said, how can you enjoy life when this world is ablaze? Ablaze with what? Ablaze with greed, hatred and delusion, ablaze with suffering, and shrouded in darkness of the knowledge of the Dhamma. Very few people come across the true Dhamma. If we have already come across the true Dhamma, we should not waste this opportunity. 147. Behold this body, a painted image, a mass of heaped up sores, infirm, full of hankering, with nothing lasting or stable. So our body is like a painted image, especially people put makeup. As the Buddha says, a mass of heaped sores, infirm, sick, full of hankering, full of wants, hankering after this, hankering after that, desiring this, desiring that. But there's nothing lasting or stable in this body. So you always have to remember that the Buddha says, our body is no different from a corpse. In a few more years' time, our body will be a corpse. And even that corpse also won't last. That smelly, bloated corpse, the blue-black corpse, even that also will break up and disappear altogether. 148. Fully worn out is this body, a nest of disease and fragile. This foul mass breaks up, for life ends in death. All lives must end in death. And this body is a nest of disease, especially if your karma is no good. You have all kinds of disease, cancer, high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, everything. 149. These dove-colored bones are like gods that lie scattered about in autumn. Having seen them, how can one seek delight? In the olden days, during the Buddha's days, they didn't have proper cemeteries. They would just throw the corpses in the forest and let the animals eat. So you walk to those places, you'll find all these bones scattered about. And if you see them, then you should realize that one day your own body will be like that. So how can you delight in this world? How can you be happy with your life? Because very soon you'll end up there. 150. The body is a city built of bones, plastered with flesh and blood, containing within aging and death, pride and contempt. So this body, this aging and dying is inherent in our body. But we don't understand worldly people are full of pride and contempt for others. Pride with your own body pride that your body is so beautiful, you're full of strength and all that, and contempt for other people. But very soon, all that you will lose. 151. Even gorgeous royal chariots wear out, and this body too wears out. But the Dhamma of the good does not age. Thus the good make it known to the good. So everything in the world will wear out. But the Dhamma does not wear out. So we pass it to those who have the blessings to receive it. 152. The man of little learning grows old like a bull. He grows only in bulk, but his wisdom does not grow. So a lot of people like that grow old like a buffalo, but wisdom does not grow. His wisdom is like the buffalo. 153. Through many a birth in samsara have I wandered in vain, seeking the builder of this house. Repeated birth is indeed suffering. O house builder, you are seen. You will not build this house again. All your rafters are broken and your rich bowl shattered. My mind has reached the unconditioned. I have attained the destruction of craving. This one we often chant. Aneka jati sangsarang sanda visang anibisang. Yeah. So this one, when the Buddha was enlightened, he uttered these verses. For a long time in samsara, he wandered through the round of rebirths, seeking the builder of this house, the creator. Because repeated birth is suffering. Each time we take birth, we suffer. Even if we are born in heaven, so we enjoy most of the time. But when it's time for us to die, you see the devas, they also have a lot of suffering. Buddha says, devas, even though their lifespan is millions of years, yet when they are about to die, they think, why so fast? I'm dying, I have to go off. And they still got a lot of things to do, just like human beings, very busy. A lot of things still haven't done. Then the Buddha says, house builder, you are seen. You will never build this house again. The mind has reached the unconditioned state. So maybe one day when you are enlightened, you'll also say this. 155. Those who in youth have not led the holy life, who have failed to acquire wealth, languish like old cranes in a pond without fish. 156. Those who in youth have not led the holy life, who have failed to acquire wealth, lie like worn-out arrows, shot from a bow, sighing over the past, regretting. So if we don't practice the holy life, when we grow old, we have not acquired wealth, means not acquired blessings, not acquired merit. And then we are like old cranes in a pond, without fish, waiting to die. Sighing over the past, regretting, remorse, we didn't use our time properly. So we have the energy, we have the good fortune, especially to come across the Dhamma. In the whole world, very few people have the good fortune to meet the real Dhamma. And now that we have met the Dhamma, don't waste our time. Remember, at one time you were probably Deva. When you were passing away from the Deva realm, other Devas were telling you, take rebirth in the human realm. Remember? Then go and learn the Dhamma and have unshakable faith. That means understand the Dhamma so that you attain stream entry. So now the opportunity is here. Don't waste it. Chapter 12, Attavaga, the self. 157. If one holds oneself dear, one should diligently watch oneself. Let the wise person keep vigil during any of the 3 watches of the night. This refers more to monks. Because the 3 watches of the night, the first watch is 6 to 10 p.m. The second or middle watch is 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. And the third watch or last watch is 2 to 6 a.m. So the Buddha always advise his monks to be vigilant during the whole night. That means you can take a rest, but don't fall asleep. This is extremely difficult. 158. One should first establish oneself in what is proper. Then only should one instruct others. Thus the wise person will not be reproached. So, like the Buddha says, if a person is in the mud, it's difficult to pull another person out of the mud. So we should practice, and then instruct others is the best. But the Buddha also said, the good to benefit yourself and to benefit others at the same time. So as you practice the Dhamma, you also teach the Dhamma if you can. 159. One should do what one teaches others to do. If one would train others, one should be well control oneself. Difficult indeed is self-control. Self-control is very difficult. So we should, the Buddha says, we should show example. If we don't practice, we tell others to practice, then it's people won't listen, just like a drunkard telling the son not to drink. 160. One is truly one's protector. Who else could the protector be? With oneself fully controlled, one gains a protector which is hard to gain. Just as we came across before, the best friend can be ourselves. The worst enemy can also be ourselves. So also the Buddha said in one sutta, be a lamp unto yourself, be a refuge unto yourself with no other refuge. Take the Dhamma as your lamp, take the Dhamma as your refuge with no other refuge. 161. The evil a witless person does by himself, born of himself and produced by himself, grinds him as a diamond, grinds a hard gem. This one we read in some other sutta. When a person goes down to hell, and he's confronted by this King Yama, and the King Yama will play the DVD of his past life. And you see all the actions he did, good and the bad. And then, of course, the bad is more. And the King Yama said, you have come here because of your own actions. It was done by you and you alone, not by your mother, not by your father, not by your son, not by your daughter, not by your wife, not by anybody, but you alone. So you alone have to bear the consequences of your actions. So here, just like that. 162. Just as a jungle creeper strangles the tree on which it grows, even so, a person who is exceedingly depraved harms himself as an enemy might wish. So if a person is depraved, that means he does all the unskillful actions, all the unwholesome actions, and he harms himself, just like a creeper strangling a tree. 163. Easy to do are things that are bad and harmful to oneself, but exceedingly difficult to do are things that are good and beneficial. Why is that so? Because our natural tendencies lead us to evil. Greed, hatred and delusion are our tendencies. It's not the opposite. So if we behave like normal, ordinary people, and then we follow our natural tendencies and we do harmful things because it's easy to do. But to do good things is like swimming against the current of life. 164. Whoever, on account of perverted views, reviles the teaching of the Arahants, the noble ones of righteous life, that fool, like the bamboo, produces fruits only for self-destruction. So you see the teaching of the Arahants. It's only later books, they say the teaching of the Bodhisattvas. During the Buddha's time, the pinnacle of the holy life is the Arahant. Even the Buddha himself is the Arahant. There are 10 names of the Buddha. If you look at the 10 names of the Buddha, one of them is Arahant. But the Chinese books don't like to use the word Arahant for the Buddha, so they say Yin Gong, worthy of offerings. But the actual fact is that the Buddha's name is Arahant. During the Buddha's time, only the Buddha was called the Arahant. The Buddha's disciples were never called Arahants. The Buddha's disciples were called liberated by wisdom or liberated by mind. Disciple liberated by wisdom and disciple liberated by mind. Only later, the later books call the Buddha's disciples Arahants. But actually, the word Arahant is the Buddha's name. And the word Arahant comes from the word Arahata. Ara and Hatta. Ara is the spokes of the wheel. And Hatta is destroyed, broken up. So the spokes of the wheel of existence, that means samsara. Samsara has been destroyed. So an Arahant is a liberated person who has destroyed the wheel of samsara. Has broken the wheel of samsara, will never be reborn again. So people with wrong views, they revile not only the teaching of the Arahants, they also revile the Arahants, talk bad about the Arahants. So the fool, like the bamboo, is going for self-destruction. 165. By oneself is evil done. By oneself is one defiled. By oneself is evil left undone. By oneself is one purified. Purity and impurity depend on oneself. No one can purify another. In the same way, no one can bless another. Nowadays, a lot of people like to ask for blessings from monks. Not only to bless him, sometimes even to bless the car, bless the house. This nonsense. 166. Let one not neglect one's own welfare for the sake of another, however great. Clearly understanding one's own welfare, let one be intent upon the good. This is another one of my favorite verses. You see, although it's important to help others, but you have to help yourself also. Let one not neglect one's own welfare for the sake of another, however great. A lot of people, we always give some excuse not to practice the spiritual path, the holy path. Although we know death is just around the corner. We say we have to look after our family, we have to look after our children. Sometimes the children are already born and grown old. Then they say have to look after the grandchildren. Always all these excuses. But when death comes, death is not going to listen to your excuse. Oh, let me finish looking after my grandchildren first. Chapter 13, Loka Vaka, the world. 167. Do not follow the vulgar way. Do not live in heedlessness. Do not hold false views. Do not linger long in worldly existence. So don't be heedless. If you are heedless, careless, you'll be lingering a long time in samsara, worldly existence. 168. Rise, do not be heedless. Lead a life of good conduct. The righteous live happily both in this world and the next. 169. Lead a life of good conduct. Do not lead a base life. The righteous live happily both in this world and the next. So the Buddha says, arise, don't be careless, don't continue with the old way. Now that you heard the Dhamma, make an effort. 170. When one looks upon the world as a bubble and a mirage, the king of death does not see one. So, since the world, actually our world, is going to crash very soon, just like the share market. So it doesn't matter whether people say the world is going to end at 2012 or whatever time. Our own world is very soon coming down because our life is so short. So if we practice, then only the king of death cannot see you if you have reached the deathless. 171. Come, behold this world, which is like a decorated royal chariot. Here fools flounder, but the wise have no attachment to it. So most people, we like the world, Just like we like a decorated royal chariot, we want to play with the royal chariot. So a lot of people like to play in the world. That's how they flounder in the ocean of samsara. But the wise slowly let go of the attachments. 172. One who, having been heedless, is heedless no more, illuminates this world like the moon freed from a cloud. 173. One who by good covers the evil he has done, illuminates this world like the moon freed from a cloud. So if we have been careless before and we understand the Dhamma, then we are careless no more. And we practice the spiritual path. And we practice the spiritual path, then whatever evil we have done, we can cover it. A very good example is Angulimala. He killed hundreds of people, and he is bound for, he should be destined for hell, and end up in hell for millions and millions of years, because he understood the consequences. Having heard what the Buddha said, he strove very hard, and then became an Arahant, and didn't have to pay back all the evil that he did, because he had no more ego. Only when we have an ego, a self, the karma can follow us. When there's no self anymore, then the karma cannot attach to that self anymore, because there's no self. 174. Blind is this world. Here only a few possess insight. Only a few, like birds escaping from a net, go to the realm of bliss. As I mentioned before, the holy path is the path of the alone, to the alone, by the alone. So very few have the courage to walk this lonely path and get free. 175. Swans fly on the path of the sun. Men pass through the air by psychic powers. The wise are led away from the world after vanquishing Mara and his host. The Mara here refers to all the defilements inside us. If we can overcome all the defilements inside us, then only we are led out of the samsara. 176. For a liar who has violated the one law of truthfulness, who holds in scorn the hereafter, there is no evil that he cannot do. This person who does not understand the law of karma vipaka, so he doesn't believe in the afterlife, the hereafter. So if people tell him about karma vipaka and about future rebirth, he will scorn, won't believe at all. So such a person who does not believe in the law of karma vipaka, action and its consequence, then he dares to lie and dare to do any evil. He will not hesitate to do, because he doesn't understand the consequences or don't believe in the consequences. 177. Truly, misers fare not to heavenly realms, nor indeed do fools praise generosity, but the wise person rejoices in giving, and by that alone does he become happy hereafter. If we are generous, we make other people happy. So we give happiness when we give things to others, and it comes back to us naturally. 178. Better than sole sovereignty over the earth, better than going to heaven, better than even lordship over the worlds, is the fruition of stream entry. This is another very important saying. In the whole world, the most valuable thing we can get in life is to attain stream entry. Nothing more valuable than become Sotapanna, the first stage of Aryahood, the stream entry, first path, which will become turned to first fruit within the same lifetime. So better than being king of the whole world, or even king of the Deva realm. That as a Deva you are very happy. But if you are a Deva Raja, like Sakha Deva Raja, you are even more happy. But that is nothing at all compared to attaining a stage of Aryahood. Because once you attain a stage of Aryahood, all the woeful planes of rebirth you've left behind. You'll never become a ghost again. You'll never become an animal. And you'll never be reborn in hell again. So the remaining suffering is very little. But even if you become Sakadeva Raja, king of all the devas, if you have not become an Arya, then the round of samsara is still very long. And because the round of samsara is still very long, you are sure, I guarantee you, that you'll become a ghost many times, animal many times, fall into hell uncountable number of times or so.